Hi guys, welcome to the Novel Nomad and welcome to another book tag. Today I'm going to be doing the Aussie Book Tag. Now this was created by Julia at Picnic Reads and Yok at Happy Comes First, and I saw this tag over on Katrina, the Little Book Owls channel. And what really inspired me from Katrina's videos is that she limited herself to Australian authors, and I thought that was such a great idea because it's great to represent authors from your own country and represent the book industry within your country. So just a little disclaimer, all these authors are Australian and I hope you check them out. Question 1 is Koala, a character that you would just love to cuddle all day long. And I have actually had the privilege of cuddling a koala, and what I found is that they're actually quite wiry haired, so it's not like a soft cuddle. So with that insight in mind, I chose Josh from The Hating Game. He's a bit wiry, a bit prickly on the outside, but once you get to know him, he's like a big old marshmallow. And I absolutely loved this story. It follows Lucy and Josh. They're in a way nemesis in the work office, and it's basically the hijinks they get up to as they battle it out to get a promotion. Question 2 is Vegemite, a book that you love and everyone else hates. For me, I'm going with the book that you love, but you don't really have many other people who've read the book. And for me, that's going to be The Blaze of Glory by Michael Pryor, actually the entire Laws of Magic series. This is a YA historical fiction series with an altered history where magic is actually real, but it actually has laws like physics, so it has a certain science about it. And it is the pre-war, before First World War period, so like late Edwardian, and then going into the First World War. So it is absolutely riveting. I loved this series. I just want to hear more love for this series. If you're trying to find it, this is actually the very first covers they came out with. They've been redesigned. Unfortunately, they're redesigned halfway through the publication. Different covers, I was horrified, but it is absolutely fantastic. If you love YA historicals, definitely check it out. Question 3 is SOCCEROOS, your favourite fictional squad. Now for this one, I'm going with Melina Marchetta's On the Jellicoe Road. There are 2 squads in this. One is formed accidentally, it's through situation but also camaraderie. And the other one is like a pure friendship group and relationship. So it's really interesting to see how the 2 develop and how they are affected by each other and what happens to the 2 squads, because the story is about these 2 groups of teenagers and how they link. So it is an absolutely beautiful story. I had the great joy of seeing Melina Marchetta this year at Writers Week, and I got her to sign this copy. I just recommend this to everyone who loves YA and who loves a really interesting contemporary drama. Question 4 is Southern Cross, your most recent 5-star read, and I haven't read that many Australian authors this year. I'm very bad. I need to pick that back up again. But the most recent one is Melina Marchetta. She's a bit of a YA goddess in Australia. She wrote the classic Looking for Alibrandi, and it was just like, it was on everyone's school book lists back in the day. But Finnegan of the Rock is her fantasy series, and this one obviously follows Finnegan of the Rock, and as he journeys to try and save his kingdom. And it is really interesting, the political context and also the context of women in power through this book is absolutely fantastic. Another Marchetta book, hers aren't really defined purely by genre. It can be very, very different from a classic genre read. Question 5 is Patriotism, a favourite book by an author from your country. Now, obviously, these are all of my favourites, but need I say The Beast Garden by Kate Forsyth. If you haven't seen this book on my channel already, you probably haven't watched about 50% of my videos, because I have talked about this book a lot and I have raved about this book a lot, and I just absolutely adore this book. It's a World War II historical fiction set in Berlin about a German couple who try to survive the war, and it is based on Beauty and the Beast, so you can't get much better than that. Question 6 is ECHIDNA, a book you like to look at but physically hurts you to read. Now I'm going to say this physically hurts in a good way because this series is amazing, but it also hurts in a way that it's so gut-wrenching what happens to the characters. I didn't know what to expect around each turn. And that is Ellie Marnie's The Every Breath trilogy. Now this is based off the Sherlock Holmes stories. It is a modern retelling in a way, or an adaptation into modern day Melbourne. And it follows Rachel Watts as she's moved to Melbourne and she makes friends with the elusive James Mycroft. and it just follows their investigation into crimes, and Mycroft's past comes to haunt them. And it is such a fantastic series. I was so absolutely shocked by the second one, and then how that recovered in the third one was glorious. So yes, please read these if you do love a really intense, good crime contemporary, especially in the YA genre. It's great to find one that manages to keep the suspense without really just feeding it to the reader. You can't do that with a crime, you have to leave them guessing. Question 7 is Ned Kelly, a book that is really grim but an iconic must read. And for this one I've chosen A Town Like Alice by Neville Shute. I haven't read this one yet. I fully intend to. I want to read it with Kate Howe. We're going to buddy read it together. It is a post-Second World War historical fiction, and it follows a woman who was a part of a death march, a Japanese death march in Southeast Asia. So it'll be really interesting to read this one because I really haven't read much into the Pacific War in World War II. So I don't have a lot of background knowledge of what happened to the women or men in the Pacific. So this will be really interesting placing that history within a fictional setting. Question 8 is The Great Barrier Reef, a book that left you gaping in awe, and I do want to go see The Great Barrier Reef one day soon, hopefully. But the book I've selected for this question is Sabriel by Garth Nix. I read this when I was a teenager, and I had mainly read female-led fantasies by Tamora Pierce, which I absolutely love, but in those ones it's always women fighting for their place, fighting to be recognised, where Garth Nix made a female power and a female matriarchy, especially in the Old Kingdom, so respected and accepted. It was just mind-blowing and a relief, honestly. It was just such a revelation for my teenage self to actually read where women who strove for power, strove for their own goals, strove for their own place in society without being questioned was something that left me in awe, and Sabriel has always kept a very close place in my heart because of that alone. Question 9 is Pavlova, a light and fluffy book but that you just can't help but love. And I absolutely adore this book. It just made me laugh so much and it was so heartwarming. And that is none other than The Rosie Project by Graham Simpson. So the story follows Don as he enacts the wife project to find himself a wife because he thinks it's time that he found himself a wife. But for some reason he's drawn to this Rosie person, and so he enacts the Rosie Project to try and help her with her problem, but it ends up causing more complications for him in his wife project. I loved this book. Just Don Tillman was such a refreshing character to read, and to read it from his perspective as well, and to see how his mind worked and how he responded to certain situations, and you're on the other side going, oh god, that's so cringeworthy, but he was processing it in a different way. It just made him so much more accessible, and it made the story so much funnier to have that real clash of awkwardness but hilarity at the same time. So I highly recommend this one. And the last question is question 10, which is Milo, a book or genre you reach for to get you out of a reading slump. Now, just a side note, for anyone who's eaten Milo, I think the ultimate pinnacle way you can ever eat Milo is on ice cream. Just tell me down below in the comments if you agree. Sure, if you're straight up a milk person, go for it. But ice cream, Milo on ice cream is like a certain type of paradise. I just love it. I haven't had it in so long. I'm kind of craving it now, but Milo and ice cream, do try. That was a slight tangent there, so we'll get back onto the books. And the first ones that I usually reach for, and these are Australian authors. I haven't read these books yet, but they are on my TBR pile, and I fully intend to read them if I ever get into a reading slump, which thankfully hasn't happened yet this year. And the first one would have to be Kick-Ass YA. There is some fantastic YA books coming out, and if you don't know, there's a hashtag on social media called LoveAusYA, and you can just see some amazing examples of really intense, fantastic Australian YA fiction. This one is Akane by Lynette Noni, and it's about a girl finding her way into a magical school. And I'm sure you know Jay Kristoff. He has been going on the rounds of the YA circuit, especially here on BookTube. And this is his Lotus War series, Storm Dancer. And I had to get in these covers because they're just look at that girl. She's absolutely awesome. So I'm definitely going to pick these up very soon, hopefully. And I know they'll help me out of a reading slump. Another genre that really helps me get me out of reading slump is pretty cute romance or contemporaries, and I know quite a few romance writers in South Australia and Australia, so I have the joy of reading these, and when they're actually set in Australia it's so much fun because you know the places they're talking about. But yeah, these have been really heartfelt and funny, so I've really enjoyed them. And of course, I do love a good historical fiction, especially when the language is so emotive and evocative that the pages can just conjure magic for you. So Hannah Kent definitely did that for me with the Burial Rites, and so The Good People I'm definitely looking forward to. I have heard it's not quite on the same pinnacle as the Burial Rites, but I'm still wanting to give it a chance because it's set in Ireland and it has to do a bit more with Irish folklore. So this is going to be a wonderful one to pick me up if I do ever get into that dreaded reading slump. Alright, so that was the Aussie Book Tag. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed it and you got to see some amazing Aussie authors if you ever want to check them out. And tell me down below, what is a favourite book by an author from your country? Because I'm blessed by having so many subscribers from so many different countries. So tell me down below your favourite book by an author from your country. And if you've been lucky enough to cuddle a koala. But I'll see you all next time, guys. Happy reading. Bye.